Thanks to LL Bean for presenting today's storybook with limited commercial interruption.
How was your morning?
All my life, changing every day, in every possible way. In every possible way.
I'm not a farmer. If left to my own devices, I would not be farming. But living the life we do makes me so appreciate where food comes from. As we host people at the tiny house and give farm tours and sell food to our neighbors, they see what we're doing and appreciate that in such a deep way. And that appreciation keeps me going in a way that living in an isolated bubble couldn't. 2010, Freiburg Fair, final fair of the season. I'm the fish girl, I'm working, and Steve's working for another farmer at a turkey booth. So it's the turkey guy meets the fish girl, and we sort of chatted all week. So I walked by his booth and he's out there just looking fit to be tied. And I'm the type of person who gives hugs probably too much. So I just walk up to him and I gave him a big hug because he looked like he needed one.
Out of the clear blue sky. And I was like, who does that?
At the end of the fair, he swings by and he gives me his phone number, and I was dating somebody else at the time, and I was like, yeah, all right. Within 2 weeks, the other thing ended. I gave him a call, and the rest is history, I guess.
I bought the farm in the fall of '08. Started farming it in 2007 with permission from the previous landowner who was looking to have it stay a farm. There had been plenty of developers looking at it. When Seren and I met, there were 8 poles for the pole barn sticking out of the ground and pretty much nothing else. The next spring we broke ground and built the house, not even married, just, yeah, kind of on a prayer. Yeah, I mean, ever since then it's been nonstop. When Seren and I met, I think I had 12 cows, and I was doing probably about 25 to 40 pigs a year. And now we are finishing around 40 head of cattle a year, 70 always on farm. We're now up to anywhere between 150 to 185 hogs a year, depending on contracts and sales and stuff. It was the 70 acres, and now there's another 150 some leased.
We both work full-time through Old Crow Ranch. Steve does all of the food production. He manages everything outside. I do everything inside: sales, marketing, social media, communications, farm store, which is the new development. Every year that we sort of reinvent ourselves. In 2019, she was finally sleeping through the night. She was about 10 months old, and Steve was like, that dream you had of creating a hostel in Portland, of hosting people. You should go for that dream. You should figure out some way to host people here on farm. Let's do that. Contracted with Tiny Homes of Maine, got a 8x20 tiny house. That has been an incredible addition to the farm. That was 2019's edition. And 2020's edition was our farm store. This was our pandemic build. We serve a lot of Mainers, a lot of neighbors, and I love meeting the community. It's really wonderful. If you come to the farm store and you want to buy some meat, I will first hand you a meat cheat sheet, which you can take home and put on your refrigerator for future references. You have multiple ways to buy. You can buy online through our online farm store and come pick up, and it can be contactless. You can always pick up during store hours. We have regular open store hours. In addition to that, you can just call me because we're pretty much always here.
Due to the pandemic, all of a sudden, you know, with large meat plants and stuff shutting down and grocery stores, the panic that ensued, you know, all of a sudden we sold out in 2 weeks and didn't know what happened. Previous to that, there was one year where we were like sold out, and it was like a miracle. It felt like we were always trying to market those last 10 hogs or those last couple beef, or always trying to find a home for stuff. And so the stress just flipped. It was all of a sudden, instead of where are we going to go, it's like, oh, we got to do all this. Like, we got to make sure this actually gets in people's freezers and on their plate. I mean, a lot of it was panic in the beginning. But one of the things I always said, especially about local and all that stuff, is if you could just get them to your farm and get it in their mouth, you'll gain a new customer. And that's what has really happened. As Seren came on and we started developing more of our like direct to consumer, that's when then the store, we already had it planned, and then the pandemic hit, and it was like, oh, we got to get on this. Because I mean, daily we're taking calls being like, can we just come get it? And we're like, no. I mean, heck, those pigs aren't even born yet. But I mean, I think that's our opportunity to educate, because it is so removed.
I got the education too. I mean, I didn't grow up farming. I don't have a farming background. And so to meet Steve and to suddenly start shopping out of your freezer instead of shopping at the grocery store is a much different way to eat. It's planning ahead. The instant gratification isn't there. That was one of my biggest learning curves, and how to cook it. I still use Google recipes on a regular basis. I've watched Josh's feed on like the cookbooks. He's the same way. He doesn't have the same time in the kitchen.
Wish I did. Honestly, the farming thing is me. I want my girls to go do what they want. I mean, there's 3 of them, so if one of them wants it, great. If one of them wants some part of it, fine. I had worked for enough farms and watched that father-son relationship enough that I was like, I don't want to do that. I didn't want to do this as a hobby. This is what I wanted to do. This is what, honestly, people told me I couldn't do, so I wanted to prove them all wrong. If one of them absolutely wants to, I will hold out as long as that takes. And at the same time, my oldest is an artist. She's not a farmer, and that's great. Like, she's off of college doing her thing, so it's like, cool, go do that. But I know she's pretty tied to it. And so I said, you better be a dang good artist. It takes all kinds in this world. And I think what's sometimes hard is that people don't value what they eat. I value a doctor, especially right now. I value the lawyer that helps me figure out how to do this easement so that it'll work for me and my family and my farm for generations. Like, I value all that. And yet, my blood, sweat, and tears, my time, my education is not worth the same. And so, for future generations, I really hope we can get to the point where people that are actually caring for the land and feeding us, there's just a little more respect for that. I mean, none of us are really in it for the money. It's because we love to do this. And so, to me, it really is just a value of how do we have farmers actually be respected for the amount of work they do.